Hey everyone. So one of the big problems that Young Earth Creationism runs into is how to explain the extinction of not only the dinosaurs, but of other animals we only know from the fossil record as well. Indeed, this was a problem for early paleontology when some clergymen outright rejected the idea of extinction in the distant past because they believed that a loving God would never allow any of his creatures to completely die out. Most creationists obviously have moved away from this position in modern times, and nothing illustrates this better than how they explain dinosaur extinction. Modern creationists like Kent Hovind, Ken Ham, and Carl Baugh claim that Noah's family did indeed bring dinosaurs aboard the Ark, and that they did indeed survive the global deluge, but that upon disembarking, they found a world that was very different from the one that they had lived in before. According to creationists, some creationists, not all creationists, there's a little bit of debate among them, but anyway, they claim that some of them claim that there was this huge water canopy that used to exist before the flood, that collapsed during the flood, and that when it collapsed, the quality of the air in the atmosphere diminished, and the world became much cooler than it had been. These changes made it very hard for gigantic animals to exist. Thus, dinosaurs would have a hard time surviving. A few managed to hang on, but they claim that by the Middle Ages, most of these dragons had been hunted to extinction or had died from the changes in the environment. There are many problems with the creationist explanation for the extinction of dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals, but I'll focus on some of the ones that stick out most in my mind. So, creationist claim number one. The post-flood world was hostile to large air-breathing animals. This is incredibly problematic because we have living animals with us today who breathe air and are as big as or even surpass even the largest sauropods in terms of size. Of course, I'm talking about whales. Somehow whales survived the flood in this creationist hypothesis, even though they would be just as dependent on quality oxygen in the atmosphere as any dinosaur. Of course, creationists will say, but whales are aquatic. That's different. But that's not the issue at hand here. The fact is that whales are not fish, and they need to get oxygen the same way that other mammals and birds and reptiles, including dinosaurs, have to get oxygen. They breathe air. In addition, there's the fact that many dinosaurs were not large. Large, hulking, big creatures like Brachiosaurus. Not all dinosaurs were like that. In fact, the smallest dinosaurs, like, Compsognathus, which was this little tiny thing, was about the size of a chicken. So even if we are to assume that the post-flood environment was too much for the big dinosaurs, there's no reason for us at all to expect that the smaller dinosaurs couldn't endure it. So that's claim number one that's problematic. Creationist claim number two. Dinosaurs were reptiles, and the post-flood world was much colder than the pre-flood world. This is problematic on two fronts. First of all, we know for a fact that there are reptiles of decent size still alive today. Whether you're a creationist or an evolutionist or whatever, we can all agree that crocodiles, lizards, and members of the order Testudia, which is turtles and tortoises, lived alongside the dinosaurs. These reptiles do just fine in our modern world, and true, they aren't as large as their prehistoric relatives might have been. There were some really big crocodiles and really big turtles, but it's not like they're gasping for air because they can't adapt to our current world. But even so, there's something that's even more significant with this creationist claim that makes it even more problematic, and that's the fact that there's a significant body of evidence that has emerged over the last 3 decades that indicates that dinosaurs were not cold-blooded and depended on their environment to regulate their body temperature, like, for example, snakes would be, but warm-blooded like mammals and birds. Even more to this point, since the late 90s, paleontologists have uncovered direct evidence from the fossil record that some dinosaurs were covered in feathery plumage. Sinosauropteryx and Microraptor are good examples of this. So the question for creationists is, why couldn't they survive if, some of them we know were covered in feathers? Creationist claim number 3. Aquatic life was mostly immune from the flood's effects, and no provisions needed to be made to save them. I dealt with this in a previous issue, dealing with Noah's flood and marine, mammals and marine life, and that's problematic because, again, creationism doesn't come up with a good explanation for why the big marine reptiles like Mosasaurus, Ichthyosaurus, Plesiosaurus, and so on didn't survive if they were aquatic. It just doesn't make any sense because there's no reason to believe that these animals couldn't and wouldn't be alive today if aquatic animals were able to endure the flood with little consequence. So those are 3 big ones, but even on more to a point, you'll find that a lot of creationists, when they're dealing with these problems of where the dinosaurs went, will oftentimes resort to another pseudoscience called cryptozoology, which fascinated me as a kid personally. For those of you who aren't in the know, cryptozoology is the study of hidden animals, or animals that might exist. So cryptozoologists are the people you see on those monster hunting shows who go out looking for the Yeti and Sasquatch and so forth. Basically, of particular interest to creationists are creatures alleged to live. Is one creature that's alleged to live in the Congo, which goes by the name Mokele-Membe. This creature is said to be a massive herbivorous animal that lives near water, and some creationists claim is a sauropod. And it's not just creationists too. Evolutionary cryptozoologists claim that Mokele-Membe is as dinosaur as well. They also bring up the claim that these water monsters, like sea serpents, and most famously the Loch Ness Monster, are actually living remnants of creatures long thought extinct. Like plesiosaurs. The problem with these claims is that if they were true, it would have to mean that it isn't just one creature that has hung on for thousands of years. It would have to mean that there has been a breeding population that has somehow survived and escaped the spotlight of modern zoologists. It would raise a whole host of questions related to why haven't we found sauropod nests in the Congo? Shouldn't we have found some eggs? Why haven't we found a dead body somewhere that we can analyze? And to quote one of my favorite shows, How I Met Your Mother, where's the poop creationist? Honestly, large land animals like sauropods have to eat a lot in order to maintain their massive size, and all that food has to come out somewhere. And I mean, that's just the things that I've noticed. And I'm not even going to go into asking how they explain the pterosaur extinction, or why large mammals like Hendrickotherium aren't still around today if they were on the Ark as well. And it does make me wonder, because creationism and intelligent design, particularly Young Earth Creationism, has such a strong backing among evangelical Christians. And these are just basic questions, and I mean, maybe I'm a bit of a paleo nerd, so I'd go into them a little bit more, but these are just basic questions that I don't see really being asked, and I wonder about that. So yeah, if any creationists are watching my videos, please feel free to address my questions. Thank you for watching. Answer the questions by questioning the answers. Later.